Okay, so we're going to learn how to make this amazing, super easy crocheted scarf. It's all made, so I'm going to use, it was all made with leftover sock yarn, fingering weight, all different colors, and just wherever the yarn color felt stopped, the new one started. See, like there's a part that stopped. I just did it very random. Whatever bits I had, here's a little bit. You can actually see the end sticking out a little bit. I need to trim. Here's some silver stops and blue. And it's just, overall, it's an amazing, gorgeous piece, but super easy. So let's get started. First thing is get all your leftover sock yarn together. And again, you can use any weight yarn. If you use a bigger yarn or heavier yarn, just use a bigger needle, or excuse me, bigger hook. Okay, so let's get all of this mess out of the way. So again, I said I'm using a size F crochet hook, which is a 3.75 millimeter. And what I started with was I just chained loosely about 8 foot long, which works out to about 244 centimeters. So the overall scarf, I started with 8 foot long, but single crochet pulls in so much and it condenses so much that it shortened by like 1.5 feet. So my finished scarf I ended up with, and I'm going long ways, so crocheting from end to end, just to get a little bit more artsy modern look. My finished measurements ended up with about 1.5 feet tall, wide, and 6.5 feet long, even though I started with an 8 foot chain. Okay, so I'm going to start just with 36 stitches because you probably don't want to sit here and watch me crochet 8 feet long of crochet hooks, crochet chain, and everything else. So, oh, sorry. So I'm going to start with a slip knot, and there you go. Put my hook in. And again, you want to chain this a little bit loose because you don't want to be pulling in on your edge. This is your long edge. So I'm just going to chain 2, 3, 4, 5, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So for our samples, I've just chained 36. Okay, and then technically you're at the end of every row of this project, you're going to single crochet all the way across, chain 1, which is your turning loop that helps raise the piece in height, chain 1 and turn, and we're going to crochet. So since I'm doing 36 stitches, I actually am chaining 1 extra, so it would have been your 8 foot plus 1 chain if you want to, for whatever reason. Okay, so now we're going to turn. Now normally I say to go through both V's or both tops of the stitch as we go, but on this first foundation chain you really need to be able to just let me show you where we're going to go on. So we're not going into this first one because that was our turning chain. So I'm going to go into the next one. So do you see the yarn is up above this first one? I kind of pulled it tight. Let me do that without pulling it so tight. Okay, so we've got my hook is in this top loop. There's another loop here that yarn is going right into. See that right there? So I want to skip that one. That is my turning chain. And my hook is going to go into the next chain. And then I'm actually going to go through only the top loop on this first foundation chain row that way, and I'm going to make a single crochet, and I'm going to do this all the way across. And what that's going to do is it's going to give my bottom edge of this scarf a really nice edge. Let me do a few more and show you. So I'm just single crocheting in each of these little spots, but on this first row only, I'm just going through the top. See, the bottom part has two legs of that stitch, and I'm just going through the top part of each one. So what that'll do is the bottom one, as we go, will have a nice little braided looking edge as we go. Okay, so we're going to go across here. I've got a little bit further on, so let me move to the next one. All right, so we have been crocheting along after our first chain, and I'm coming to the end of my chain, and we're doing a single crochet in every stitch across. Okay, and we're coming along towards the end, so let me show you how we handle that and how we turn. So it's very important to watch the ends of your project if you're doing something linear like a scarf or a blanket, so that your project doesn't just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow, or shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And a lot of that is the 2 steps here. Okay, so let me get through. Here's your next to last stitch, and I'm almost out of yarn. It's a little awkward here at the end. Okay, so we've got one last stitch of our chain right here waiting for their last stitch. So let's make a single crochet in there. Sometimes that last one gets a little tight and you just kind of jam it in. Okay, so we have made a single crochet in every stitch of the original chain. And now to turn, because we're doing single crochet, we just need one chain. Will get us up, it'll move up the height, and we're going to turn our project and go back the other direction. So that first chain counts as my first stitch. So I'm not going to put my crochet hook in this first little hole right here, because then I'd be increasing, okay? This counts as the first stitch. So we're going to skip this first one. Let me pull my needle out of the way. It's easier if I pull it apart a little bit to show you. So we're going to skip this first, right where that yarn is coming out of, and we're going to go into this next stitch right here next to it. So that one is the first stitch, and even though we could put our needle there, we're not, because that counts. Okay, so we are going to, so basically if it's attached, the part that's attached to this, that's already counting. We're going in the next stitch place. So each of these stitches across from this row and every row forward, we are going to be going through both legs, both parts of the top stitch. Do you see that's got both strands there? So that's my original. It's got both parts of this stitch here. We're not going in front loops only, we're not going in back loops only, we're going through both loops along the top. And that way our beautiful scarf will be reversible. It'll work amazing. And so everything else. So we're also getting ready to change colors, because here I'm out of yarn, time to change. Now some people like to finish it all up, finish their stitch, and then pick up the next color. Let's use some goldenrod colored gold, and this colorway is Poseidon's Trident out of the Sparkle Toes. Okay, so a lot of people would start, you finish your stitch, pick up a tail, and just start crocheting from here. The problem with that is you're going to have a split stitch. So this crochet stitch, the single crochet, has two legs down there, and then on the top it has this little pretty loop along the top. We want all parts of that to be orange, and then the next one we want to be all gold. Well, the magical way to do this in crochet is the last part of whatever stitch you're doing, that last wrap over and pull through, if you do it with the new color, then your color changes are just gorgeous. So we'll start the stitch with the through, yarn over, pull through, and now I'm going to pull through with the new color, and then I will have, see if I can, it's hard to tell with all this in the middle of it. So you actually have your legs of the orange, and the little loop is going to be orange for that stitch, and the next one is going to be fully yellow, which is exactly what we want. Another trick, I'm telling you 2 tricks at once, is these extra tails that are hanging loose, we can just crochet over them and we won't have to weave in the ends. I don't recommend that in all projects, but on something like a scarf where it's going to not be washed as often, it's fantastic. Also, I promised to get give myself a manicure at some point. I'm a yarn dyer, so all of my yarns and cuticles are different colors. Apologize for that. Okay, so those guys are kind of in the way here. Let's try that again. So we're going to do our whole stitch with the yellow now. So we're going through both legs. I'm just going to trap those little tails out of the way. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So now we have a beautiful full orange stitch, and then we have a beautiful full yellow stitch right next to each other. No mishmash. You're still going to have, the scarf is designed so that you have all these different starts and stops wherever, but this way they're beautiful, clean color changes, and they are just gorgeous. And again, I am just crocheting, single crocheting into each stitch, and these extra 2 guys, I'm just kind of dragging along in the middle, and my non-crochet hook hand, so I'm right-handed and crocheting with my right hand. My left hand is kind of keeping those guys out of the way. So we are just crocheting right over them. They're just kind of trapped in there. And so we're going along. And then I usually like to go for about an inch, maybe 1.5 inches, and then I'll snip the ends. But I do suggest going past it a few stitches before you snip, or even go to the end of your row. It's awfully easy to snip the wrong tail, and then suddenly you've got a 3rd tail and a 4th tail. So I would say that should be enough. I've trapped them each stitch along, and now, so then I'm just going to let those 2 extra ends kind of hang back out of the way for a few stitches, and crochet along as usual. 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each of these spots along the way, and then I can snip those little boogers that are sticking out. I don't suggest you snip right against the project. It's easy to cut them, as well as it's a stretchy material, so it will be pulled in. So I usually leave like maybe an 1/8 inch. So these are my 2 tails. Again, I'm making sure that the yarn that's attached to the ball is not the one I'm snipping. I am snipping these 2 little guys. And I'm gonna leave it maybe an 1/8 inch because even though they're sticking out a little bit, when I give it a tug as part of normal wear, they disappear inside. Isn't that lovely? So here we go, and that's a beautiful color change. And we just keep doing this back and forth and back and forth, remembering at the end to go right into the last stitch, and then we're going to crochet 1 chain, turn, and keep going. Okay, so let's do another color change. Let me show you. We're crocheting along, single crocheting along, coming towards the end of our yarn. And remember for the color change to be magical and lovely, we start the stitch with the original color, and this would be my last part of the stitch, is to yarn over and pull through. So we're going to do that part with the new color, the blue. And let me snug it up a little bit, pull the right tail here. So then I'm going to crochet a few stitches over both, and I'm just going to lay them on top along as I go. So I'm just continuing along, crocheting along, right, 1, 2, 3. And this other hand is just kind of monitoring, keeping track of those crazy tails. And as you crochet, you also start to feel where your next stitch should go. A lot of people, my grandma, oh my goodness, my grandma Long, she crocheted every day and made the most amazing things, and she was really an inspiration for me. And she could do it without even looking because she had crocheted her whole life. I can knit without looking, but I can't quite crochet without looking, but I'm getting better because if my thumb can feel along here, each of these little holes, my thumb can feel it. So for little bits, I sometimes can crochet without looking. I do a lot of listening to podcasts or watching TV shows I've already seen a lot of times, and then I don't really need to watch so close. But it is a wonderful, calming, exciting, I love seeing like the way it's kind of both. You've got calming of the repetitive of the crochet stitching, and you've got the excitement of what color's coming next. What are we going to do next? And look at how pretty that color changes there. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, I just checked in with one of my friends who's a newer crocheter and asked her what else would she need help on this project. So she pointed out that the end of the row always looks a little different when you get there, so deciding which of those things you put stitches in and which you don't. So if I kind of pull this out here, it's easy to see as we go along, each of these have a little hole, so that's a stitch, and that last stitch, which is, if you think about it, when you started that row, we did the chain and the turn, so it's a little bit different format. It's made a little bit differently. Let me make these next 2 stitches and I'll show you how we do that turn again so that we keep our edges straight as they go. Okay, so I've got my hook and I am all kinds of twisted up. Okay, so let's get going. So we've got a couple of spots here. So I'm going to crochet right into that spot. Move this out so it doesn't mess with the focus. Okay, so we crocheted into that single crochet, and then we know for sure there's another little hole there, so that's where our next stitch will go. And then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now, if I just stopped right here and did my turn, my piece would gradually start coming in. We want this to be a full stitch. You kind of have to pull it out. You can see it's a little different from the other. It's not a full circle, but there is, if you pull it out a little bit, you can see there's a hole. So you kind of just jam your little crochet hook, wiggle it in there, and you should be able to find, if I look closely, there is actually a little spot. So there is a hole right there that I'm going to put my crochet hook into. And you kind of do it more by feel than by sight, and pull over. So I've done my full crochet stitch there. Now we're going to turn one, or excuse me. So we did our crochet stitch. We're going to chain one. Okay, now I just pulled out the crochet stitch. So we get to see it again. We were crocheting along, and you didn't even have to hit rewind. So then I'm going to put into this last little bit is going to be my last stitch. So that last stitch is always going to look a little different until you stitch in it. Now I'm going to make my chain one, and I'm going to turn the project. And this one, I think it's a little easier to see with the contrast across the way. So our first stitch, that chain one counts as my first stitch. So that first hole we're going to skip, and my hook is going to go into this second spot, okay? So come back here, little hook. Get in the right spot. All right, so that's my first stitch, and if I kind of pull it up, you can see it's attached to that first hole right there. See, it's attached right here. So we're going to skip that one and move to the second. So this little bit right here, and we're getting both legs of that, both loops of the top, and we're going across, and we're just crocheting across, single crochet all the way, changing colors whenever you feel like it or whenever you run out of yarn. And I tell you, it is just such a fun project. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'd love to see your projects when you're done. Send me a picture. I'm Treasure Goddess on Instagram, Ravelry, Treasure Goddess Chick on YouTube. But if you search for Treasure Goddess Yarn, you will find all of my videos. Or you can subscribe up in the link up above. So isn't that beautiful and fun? And then my edges are going to end up being a nice straight seam along the edge, or a nice straight edge, and all these colors are just going to meld together into the prettiest thing. I just love single crochet. What a magical, easy way to have a great new accessory. So I hope you enjoyed it. Crochet on, my friends, and let me know what you're working on. Thank you so much. Christine from Treasure Goddess Yarn.